They were already at work when the sun burned the morning sky, hands raw from cracked earth, backs bent beneath a merciless heat. A small band of early hominins scraped and pried, sharpened sticks, and flaked stone, cutting into parched clay to free the last stubborn tubers. The savanna hissed in the wind. Dust filled their mouths, and the taste of old bones clung to the air. A child lay curled at the matriarch's thigh, breath shallow. She rocked with slow certainty, pressing bitter leaves to a fevered brow and coaxing a few precious drops of water from a cupped leaf. Hunger was their engine. Every root pulled bought another hour, and every hour shaped the next desperate choice. When the final tuber was taken, motion followed inevitably. They rose as one and threaded the cracked riverbed like a scar across the land. Footprints of many creatures guiding them toward hope. An island of green, a narrow pool, cupping life amid the dust. Men and women moved tight and low, the youngest snug in stitched hide slings, stones bound at hips, a blunt bone staff bobbing as a quiet warning. The sun flattened the world into bronze. Mirages trembled on the horizon. Each step carried the weight of need. The water's edge shifted the story from survival to a fragile politics. Fresh human prints marked the far bank. Shade loosened, and a rival cluster rose beneath a lone acacia. Lean, sharp-eyed zebra patch hides snapping in the wind. Stares hardened. Mothers drew children back. One woman lifted a cupped leaf in an offering of need and then lowered it, a small gesture swallowed by the plain. The rival answered with a thrust of shoulder and the lift of a stone. The cracked earth between them narrowed into an invisible blade. Tension rippled through the grasses. Every small motion could tip the balance. Then the wind changed. The bitter scent of distant thunder and something older, the musk of a hunter. From the reed shadow, a low growl unfurled and became a roar that tore the air open. A lion stepped into the light, massive and sun-dulled, muscles rippling beneath tawny fur. The two human clusters did not unite. They fractured into chaotic flares, stones and clubs arcing. A mother's cry, the brittle snap of wood. Hunger and desperation collided. The riverbed turned into a theater of sudden violence, and each movement forced the next. Everything collapsed into frantic protection. One broad-shouldered hunter slammed a bone spear into the earth between the beast and a curled infant. Another hurled a flake of flint that bit into flesh and drew blood. A man ferried the child to cover. The matriarch, carved by drought and fear, hurled herself forward with sharpened bone clenched between teeth, and hand, driving steel into the animal's flank. Blood braided with dust. The lion, stunned by the ferocity of these small, dangerous creatures, staggered and fled with a shuddering roar. For a moment, the plain simply breathed. They did not collapse into relief. Their next motion was precise. Hands mashed leaves into poultices and pressed herbs to wounds with a practiced tenderness. The injured man bit down on hide, while another cracked open a marrow bone, passing the warm, salty blessing of sustenance. Cupped leaves held water that washed lacerations. Scraped stone and dry fiber spat sparks until the small hissing fire took life. In a world of drought, that ember was an almost defiant miracle. Heat to soothe, light to steady, a focus that turned terror into quiet purpose. Yet mending alone would not save them. A bitter wind carried the smell of rain. Promise and peril braided together. They packed what remained, patched hides and roots, and formed a human chain to ford a widened trench. The injured were lashed to a crude litter, Children were passed above shoulders in a practiced rhythm that depended on the steady grip of each hand. One loosened hold would break the chain. Every motion held consequence. Every hand ensured the next could reach beyond hunger. The sky, copper and raw, finally gave. Rain struck the parched earth, turning dust into slick, dark clay. For an instant, the world narrowed to sound. Rain, breath, the soft thud of feet. Then a child, splashed in a puddle, and ragged laughter burst from the matriarch, as if the storm had returned something long owed. A woman warmed a root for the injured man. A tired smile edged his mouth. They had bled and lost comforts, but they had learned to share, to shelter, to mend. Dawn, after the storm, found them smaller, but altered, scarred, stitched, and moving toward a horizon that promised greener pastures. The matriarch's robe bore fresh stitches. Stone tools sat sharper at a hip. Children nestled into the embrace of kin. They had faced rivals and a beast